Dear students, I welcome to all of you in our today's lecture. Today we'll be talking about the ancient China. We'll be mainly focusing on the ancient China from the Neolithic culture to the Zhou dynasty. Since we have been talking about different ancient civilizations across the world, in this sequence we'll be talking about ancient China or ancient Chinese civilizations is because ancient Chinese civilization is one of the most prominent civilizations in the world history. So let's begin our today's discussion about the ancient Chinese civilizations, different aspects from Neolithic culture to the Zhou dynasty. Ancient China. As you know, for every civilization there are some rows of different river or rivers. For example, for Egypt it was river Nile. For Mesopotamian civilizations, river Tigris and Euphrates played very important role. For Indus Valley civilization it was river Indus which played very crucial role. And for ancient China there were two very significant rivers which played a very important role to emerge the civilization in ancient China. And those two rivers were river Huanghe, which is also known as the Yellow River, which is situated in the northern China. And another one is the Yangtze River, which is situated in the central and southern China. And those two rivers made most fertile agricultural areas in the river basins of those two rivers. And since those two rivers played very important role to make the land very fertile, and that is why there were the developments of agriculture and some other issues connected with agriculture, and that agriculture development ultimately led to the development of the ancient Chinese or the emergence of ancient Chinese civilization in the very ancient days in Chinese history. For example, as we are talking about the agricultural development, there is a very famous cereal grain which is known as the millet, and this millet is very famous crop in the Chinese history. Even in these days this millet is regarded as one of the symbols of the advancement or the emergence of agricultural system in ancient China. So there are some crops like millet in the northern China and rice in the southern China. And so we see the development of different crops ultimately made the ancient China very much livable to the Chinese people, and that is why they could develop their civilization building process in the very ancient period. Then we see the geographical location of ancient China. In the geographical location we see that ancient China, even the modern China as well, is protected by natural barriers like mountains, deserts, rivers, etc. So we see the geographical location, environmental proximities, then some other developments like the river system or the use of the fertile land on the basis of the river basins, and that is why ultimately wonderful civilization emerged in the ancient China. Here is the location of different Chinese dynasties in the ancient period. Here we see in one of the sides of China we see the Gobi Desert, which is one of the largest deserts in the world. In another side we see the South China Sea, Pacific Ocean, East China Sea, Euro Sea, etc. And in another side we see the Great Himalaya. So this is the geographical location of Chinese history. And you see that this geographical location ultimately made China one of the largest nations in the world for all time. And today, both in the light of population, in the light of geographical territory, we see China has been one of the very prominent countries in the world history, which is leading in many ways across the globe. Ancient China is having some timeline. Since we're claiming that ancient China is having very wonderful link with the Neolithic culture, and this is one of the oldest civilizations, that is why ancient China is having close link with Neolithic age. Then we see the Bronze Age and the dynastic rule. In our today's lecture, we'll be talking about mainly Zhou dynasty and very briefly about Shang dynasty. And in our next lecture, we'll be talking about the Han dynasty. So the Shang dynasty ruled over ancient China from 1600 BCE to 1045 BCE. Then the Zhou dynasty ruled over the ancient China from 1045 BCE to 771 BCE. And lastly, the Han dynasty ruled over the Chinese land from 206 BCE to 221 CE. That means Han dynasty is basically the latest very famous dynasty, and that is why the Hans and the Chinese have become very much synonymous to each other. It's because of the contributions of the Hans. The Chinese people even these days are compared with the Hans. Now let us begin our discussion about the two very famous dynasties in ancient Chinese history, which are the Shang dynasty and the Zhou dynasty.